The teacher's role is a lot of observation, actually. So you're observing and you're looking for consistency, you're looking for continuity that the child is showing you, that they're just exploring particular lines, particular roundness, curves, snake shapes, all sorts of things. So observing that, and then the role is to maybe make a richer array of things that the child can continue to explore and settle on that consistency, that continuity of it, and providing the vocabulary that goes with it. It's not something that children learn by lessons on schemas at all. The role of the adult is to be watching and just being alongside the child and making comments and providing them with the language and providing them with feedback that these children are thinking children and that they're thinking about, and you name whatever they're thinking about. So it's adding to their richness of their language as well. But it's in the moment rather than a structured, prepared type of teaching. It's quite a different role. Parents absolutely love learning about schema learning because there's some repetition that children will do at home that will be driving the parents batty. And then when you go, they're just exploring what happens, especially some things to do with dynamic schemas about things being moved or put together, or why do they carry on building towers and knocking down towers? They're working out the schema about connectedness, and they're working out about vertical towers and so on. And you just say to the parents, they're going to be doing this. It's going to be repetitious. The dropping of the objects, if they're in a high chair, down to the floor is about 1,000 times it happens. The children are working out both about vertical movement, but in the end, you can add in this is gravity pulling the object down. But it just makes sense when parents are told about this repetitious behavior of their child is them actually consolidating and getting some understanding of that object or that movement, whatever. Often you can put a label on a working theory if you figure out as a teacher, as a kaiako, that there is some continuity, there is a pattern to the children's actions. And so they are trying to figure something out. And in particular, there's two types of schema that are written up in the books about the figurative ones. So learning and writing it down on mark making. But the other is the dynamic schemas where it's about movement. And it's more likely that the children are figuring out some working theory about schemas which are dynamic, about the connecting things or the tower building and the separation when you knock the tower down, that this is you build and then it can come apart again. So connecting and disconnecting, or just a dynamic thing. If you throw something, it will go across the room and the child will be throwing, just trying to figure out what happens when I throw something. Not always appropriate what they're throwing, but they are figuring out or working with a working theory. I had the privilege of meeting up with Tina Bruce and Chris Athey, who did the most substantive book that started early childhood people in the Commonwealth, not just in England, about schema learning. And there'd been a funded research project with, I think from memory, over 6,000 observations of children that they then analysed and worked out what was happening and what the children were, what a child was exploring, what perhaps their working theory might have been, and so on. And from those very large sample of examples from children, they could figure out that there's some progression that children are going through. So for what they call the figurative schemas, children do start off with lines, and then they tend to go to curves, and that might progress into circles. And then their drawing becomes more complex, and they often will, on whatever surface they're working on, might put a range of things. And there's some thinking often in the way they've placed those things that they've drawn on a page. So they might quite deliberately do something underneath, so start off on the top of the paper, and they're quite deliberate about the space order often, because they are thinking through something that they've seen, and their mind has absorbed that the wheels come, at the bottom of a vehicle, for example. So they will do that. But it may not be the place order or where they put them on the page may not be as logical as to an adult mind, but it has some logic for the children. There's other children that will be interested, and they will literally put a frame around what they're drawing. So they're aware that in houses, or even in our displays on the wall in early childhood settings, that you might put a frame around it and then you present and draw inside it. So they're just thinking that one through. They're showing their thinking fairly clearly in those ones which are graphic and figurative. The thinking is shown in quite a different way with the action schema. There really is some whole body generally associated with it. And it might be, what can I make fly across the room? So the fascination, children like paper planes. We may not like them too much zooming around a centre, but they love the movement of people making paper planes, helping them make them and moving those. They might be throwing objects, and they really are experimenting often, but that is something that you have to take that aspect of play outside usually. But it's about movement, and it might be themselves moving, it might be moving other objects from the place to place. So there's the set, and Nicolene Van Week has done a brilliant book published by Play Centre, which takes the action schema that we often see in centres and works their way through them, connects them to Te Whāriki, and just makes them come alive.